Hello. Welcome back to another video. Um, Today we're going to be watching Coffeehouse Crime. Started watching him about a year ago or so. He's growing like mad. Um, he's up to 1.58 million subscribers. But yeah, so I'm gonna be doing a beautiful reaction to this. The video is called He Wanted Revenge. Sorry, I'm going away from the thing. He wanted revenge against the wealthy. The Gangnam Massacre. Gangnam Style. Anyways, okay. Let's get into the video. Hope you guys enjoy. And let's do this. Doom.
It was an attack so strangely motivated yet callous that it left the nation of South Korea in a sense of shock and
Oh, whenever
despair.
it's the
And in
Asian
October
countries like
2008,
Korea
Jeong
or Japan and
Sang-Jin's
stuff,
reprehensible actions claimed the lives of 6 innocent people.
then it's always
Despite a clear
nuts.
motive left behind in his diaries, those he targeted had nothing to do with the people he felt had wronged him. So, why did all of this happen? What caused him to finally snap? And what can we learn from all of this?
What the fuck? Where the hell
Good
is
morning,
that?
good afternoon, or good evening, folks, and welcome back to Coffeehouse Crime. My name is Adrian, and today we're looking at the case of Jeong Sang-Jin. Before we begin, and just to let you know that I post solved, unsolved, and strange cases here on a weekly basis. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, please consider subscribing to the
Please
channel.
go subscribe
Alright,
to
let's
him,
dive
guys.
straight into
I
today's
enjoy
case,
his
folks.
videos.
So
He's
please,
very
grab yourself a
detailed.
coffee, pull up a seat, and get ready
Yeah,
for the deep
very
dive.
cool.
This is the case of Jeong Sang-Jin.
Let's do it. Case of Jeong Sang-Jin. Coffee House Crime. Let's do this.
Today we're venturing to the Far East, and more
Beautiful.
specifically to the southern half of the Korean peninsula.
I
So
love
without
Korea.
further ado, welcome to South Korea, folks, and let me tell you, there is a heck of a lot to talk about when it comes to this nation. Now, unfortunately, it's pretty famous for having one of the most heavily militarized borders in the world, which of course it shares with its northern counterpart, North Korea. But there is so much more
hectic.
positivity to refer to when it comes to
Feel
the
so sorry
nation.
for the
For
people in North
example,
Korea.
South Korea seems to manage to blend ultra-modern cities with jaw-dropping geography quite perfectly. Plantations sprawl across the rolling countryside, striking cliff faces rip through the coastline, and temples and rivers are scattered throughout the land. But the real fascination, at least for me, comes when you step into the city of Seoul. This place is absolutely unbelievable, to say the least. With a population of 10 million
Oh, look at
residents, this city still maintains its position as one of the best cities to live in, with the highest quality of life. And this means that Seoul is extremely popular, all while remaining tremendously fruitful. Its economy primarily focuses on advanced manufacturing, technology, finance, and commerce. And as you can likely imagine, all of these industries continuously exceed expectations and worldwide standards when it comes to modern practice. With an average salary of
He always gives
$40,000 per
like a
capita, living in
breakdown
the
of
big city
where
does come at a premium,
this crime
however.
happens.
And unfortunately, this means that there is
yeah.
somewhat of a wealth divide too. Seoul's top 1 percentile makes around 250 million won per year, which is equivalent to $200,000 or £160,000. Now, those fortunate enough to be making this kind of money can expect luxury in the heart of the city. However, for every affluently wealthy person, there are unfortunately a dozen others living in poverty. Life at the bottom of the societal food chain is tough
looks like
and can cause many
my
feelings
place.
of anguish and resentment. And one of those individuals
But I mean,
experiencing this
doesn't look that
hardship
bad
was a
for,
man named Jeong Sang-Jin.
For a
Sang-Jin was a
place.
middle-aged man living in the
Looks
Gangnam
amazing.
ward of Seoul. Aside from an internationally recognized and catchy viral song, Gangnam is well known for its gleaming skyscrapers, dazzling nightclubs, and generally modern high-end vibes. Literally meaning south of the river, Gangnam is home to many large companies like Google, Toyota, and Hyundai, meaning that property here is mind-bogglingly expensive. And combined with its neighboring districts of Seocho and Songpa, the three districts account for 10% of the entire country's land value. But these surroundings of wealth and glamour did not impact Sang-Jin, who, unfortunately, was a man who barely owned anything. And although he resided in Gangnam itself, it was in a 4-story building known as a Gosiwon. Now, Gosiwons are unique to Korea, and since they are so important to our case today, you will probably need to learn a little bit of backstory to them. Dominantly described as a low-cost lodging facility, Gosiwon are a kind of single-room occupancy found throughout South Korea. Now, those of you who are students may familiarize with this, but bathrooms and kitchens tend to be shared, and the rooms are generally around 2 by 2 meters. They were originally designed for students to live in during their exam periods, which is not too dissimilar to some university halls found here in the UK. But in the 1990s and early 2000s, their popularity skyrocketed as demand for cheap lodging facilities became more crucial. This was due to an explosion in house prices, an increase in national divorce rates, an influx of foreign workers, and government initiatives designed to reduce rates of homelessness. And sadly, this is why Sang-Jin lived here. The man was barely scraping a living through part-time jobs, sometimes working as a food delivery driver and sometimes as a valet parking attendant. Although not much is known about Sang-Jon's history, we do know that he grew up in Hapcheon, which is a county found far to the south of Seoul. Born in the year 1978, he moved to Seoul in 2002 at the age of 24. But by this time, he'd already endured what he called life-altering experiences. You see, Sang-Jin believed that he had been persecuted as a child and was ignored by many of his family and friends as he grew up. To be honest with you, it's not known what he meant by that, but those in his school remember him to be an awkward loner who was sometimes subjected to bullying. After attempting to take his life twice during middle school, Sang-Jin suffered from severe headaches on a monthly basis. But sadly, this would never be investigated any further, and instead he was just given pain relief medication. Although not a direct
Yo, bullying people. You need to stop that shit. Come on. Yeah. Wow. Bullying's not a good thing, eh? Anyways, let's just keep going.
Sang-Jin claims that ever since those dark days in middle school, he had struggled to find any sort of meaning in his life. And his feeling of hopelessness seemed to extend into his everyday behavior too. Starting from a very young age, he was convicted or imprisoned a total of 8 times, which included imprisonment for skipping mandatory training for military reservists. Now, I've mentioned this in previous cases, and you may already be aware, but in South Korea, it is mandatory for young men to serve in the military for 18 months before they are 28 years old. Jeong Sang-Jin elected to ignore this role, for which he was eventually fined 1.5 million won, the equivalent of $1,200 or £1,000. After graduating from high school, he worked as an employee at a bar and then in an office. He did eventually join the military mostly against his will, but was eventually discharged as an army sergeant in the year 2002. It is at this point in his life that he moved over to Seoul, perhaps to find his soul. However, shitty pun aside, things never improved after this. Swinging from dead-end job to dead-end job, he eventually settled into working at a restaurant in Gangnam-do. But this didn't last forever, as after misconduct in the workplace, he was fired in April 2008. His unemployment left him in a severely difficult monetary situation. He was already under financial pressure, thanks to unpaid college tuition fees, mobile phone bills, and military fines. As you can likely imagine, this was the main reason why Sang-Jin lived in a Gosiwon. I mean, put short, he was completely broke. And to add to the financial burden was an already concerning state of mental health. Sang-Jin's room was, put bluntly, a complete mess, and anyone who briefly peeked inside his room was very perplexed by his behavior. Dozens of large dolls were piled up to the back of his room, and next to his mattress, dozens of alien dolls were arranged by color and in rows of 5. On the other side of the room, rolls of toilet paper had stacked up almost to the ceiling, and located right next to it, trash had piled up almost to the same height. Although these details were strange to say the least, they weren't necessarily dangerous behavior. However, if you looked at his diaries, they would tell an entirely different story.
Here we go. Now we're getting into
Going as far back as the year 2005, Sang-Jin's diaries were filled with pessimism about himself and hatred of the world. From what has been released to the public, several of his entries included the following information. One entry read, "If I had the choice between winning the lottery or having the chance to totally destroy Earth, I would pick the latter." Another said, "I should have never been born. I was wrong from the very beginning. There is nothing in my body or brain that is right. I hate people. It's time to end it now." In 2006, he wrote, "Now, until the moment of my last breath, there is only a desperate struggle." Some other excerpts taken before 2008 are a little more menacing. "This society is dizzying. My country has abandoned me. There is only a desperate struggle for me, and until the
Talk about the country abandoning you. Have you seen our country? Holy shit. It's just said in 24 hours, we must probably have 12 hours of flipping um, load shedding. Power off. Ugh.
The moment my last breath stops, I will only see evil. I don't like people. I don't like how they look at me. I was born by accident. I am a bad seed. For that, I know it's time for me to end it all. I am ready to sacrifice my body without hesitation, just so my blood can unnerve you, even if just for a moment. I will
Hectic.
gladly sacrifice myself for all of the poor people on this wretched earth. That will be the last highlights of my life. Let's finish this nicely, like the end of a movie. Through his diary entries, which were unknown to the
So
rest of the
just
world at the
end
time,
yourself then,
Sang-Jin
go
was
to
furious with
flipping
the
hell
cards life had dealt him
and
thus
move on.
far. The deranged man
Don't need
believed
to
that the
flipping
world was
kill
ignoring
other
him
people.
and that he was destined to remain poor
Asshole.
not by choice. He held a vast amount of disdain for anyone who had money, and increasingly despised the many wealthy people that lived around him.
Get a job.
Reading back as far as 2005, there were hints that Sang-Jin wanted to claim revenge on the wealthy, and this idea became a lot more apparent when he watched one particular movie. I usually don't like horror and action movies, but today I saw a Korean movie called A Bittersweet Life. And you know what? I thought the main character was very cool. Now, A Bittersweet Life is a movie about a loyal enforcer who is asked by his mobster boss to shadow his girlfriend. The protagonist develops feelings, and after things go south, he kills his boss and the boss's gangsters in revenge. The main character dies at the end of the film, forever seen as a complex man who was never understood by the world. But probably the most important part to this film, and more specifically to Sang-Jin, this character successfully claimed his revenge even if other people didn't understand. Following on from Sang-Jin's diary, his next words were, "And so it is time I prepared for the crime." The Gosiwon he lived in was above a restaurant on the edge of Gangnam's district, and consisted of 85 tiny rooms on the 3rd and 4th floors of an otherwise commercial building. All rooms were rented on a monthly basis, and were generally used by low-income people living alone. And in the month of October 2008, 69 of those rooms were inhabited. Like most Goswon buildings, all bedrooms were parallel to each other, with a hallway in between 2 rows. All bedrooms
Pretty
were only
standard.
2 by 2 meters, and with the hallway being only 1 meter wide, the entire place felt like a complex labyrinth. Receipt records show that Sang-Jin had a variety of items already at his disposal, including a long knife, 2 other knives, a gas gun, and a head lantern. And although all of these items were likely bought without any malicious intent, they were sadly all coming together for one very vicious plan. Now, Sang-Jin's plans were ghastly, morbid even, but to be honest with you, they didn't make much sense. Although his main objective was initially to seek revenge on the wealthy, his new victims were actually
What do you think his plans were? Because, let me see. 2 knives. 3 knives? 2 knives, sword, whatever, whatever. A gas gun. What's a gas gun? Does that shoot like normal bullets? I don't know. What's his plan? Fucking hell.
quite the opposite. And in fact, they were in the exact same position he was. And on October the 20th, 2008, his wicked scheme would finally come to light, horrifying the entire country of South Korea. October 20th, 2008. It was a Monday, 8:15 in the morning, and Seoul was preparing for another typical workday. But inside the Goswon of Gangnam's Non-Yong-dong, a harrowing event was about to unfold.
These names, eh?
Today was the day that
Long,
Jeong
Kong,
Sang-Jin claimed his
Long,
so-called
Shlong.
revenge. And at 8:16 a.m., he began this by pouring gasoline onto his bed before setting it ablaze. As the flames engulfed the bed and the fire began to spread, smoke bellowed into the hallway, filling the densely packed collection of bedrooms in all directions. Other residents began to scream and shout for help, and that is when Sang-Jin emerged from his room. Dressed all in black, he wore goggles and a headlamp for visibility, with a balaclava to hide his face. Armed with a sashimi knife, 2 further knives strapped to his legs, and a tear gas gun in his belt holster, he began to attack anyone who came his way.
Tear
Some of the
gas gun.
residents who had
I
woken
didn't
up
hear
to
that
this
properly.
commotion managed to escape via the elevator. Others ran down the stairs, while some made their way to
I
a
am so
veranda,
confu-
jumping to escape from
So he hates the wealthy, and he wants to seek revenge on the wealthy. He just kills the people that's living in the same conditions as him.
as high as the 4th
Fucking
floor.
idiots, eh?
As more guests
That's the same. So in this country, we obviously have our poor areas and all that shit, like Kalicha and all that stuff. if you listen to the stories, Galicia and those places, the rape and the sorry, I'm not allowed to use the R word, so this is getting demonetized, but whatever. That R word, flippin' killings and stabbings and robbery and all that stuff is so high in those areas. So the guys are literally robbing each other, if you know what I mean. Like, you both poor and you robbing the poor. Like, what the fuck is going on here? How stupid can you get? Ugh, I don't know.
Guests ran
People's
out into the
mentalities
hallway
like freaks me
located near
out.
Sang-Jin's room. One by one, they were met with the armed and violent man. And tragically, 5 residents found their demise at the end of his
I thought,
knives. As the
oh,
fire
you
began to
almost
rip
said
through
something
the
I shouldn't have.
Gosiwon, police and firefighters arrived at the scene. But the flames had grown too large to overcome, and most of the building was now at the mercy of the inferno. But finally, after 30 minutes of destruction, a team of just over 100 firefighters were able to overcome the flames.
And they still get him alive?
It was just over 1 hour since he set the fire at 9:20 AM that firefighters breached his room. Initially thought to be another victim, Sang-Jin was rescued and taken out to safety. The man was found huddled up in his closet. But when police noticed his rather peculiar behavior, officers couldn't help but question him at the scene. It was at this point that everything came to light, because Sang-Jin made no effort to hide his crimes. And to everyone's surprise, he had confessed to what he had done almost instantly. Moving forward, the man was arrested and taken to Gangnam Police Station immediately, where he was charged with both homicide and arson. Though, to begin with, nobody knew how many casualties there would be, as tragically, there were several people still in critical condition. Police officers confiscated various items from Sang-Jin, including
wanna
a
hear
black
the
ski hat,
details.
a black mask, a headlamp, a gas-propelled pistol with loaded bullets, a leather belt with a holster, 2 fruit knives, 1 sashimi knife, 2 pistol type lighters, and
Jeez.
2 barrels of
Look at
gasoline.
this
And after
bastard.
searching what was
Holy
left of his
shit.
bedroom, investigators were able to recover his diaries, which of course left many glaring clues about his motive. The aftermath of his actions were devastating, and a huge struggle for officers to take in. Walls and doors were scorched, cladding from the ceiling had disintegrated, and electric wiring hung from the beams above. Paint from the walls had peeled back like dried skin from an orange, and rubble lay burnt and indistinguishable on the floor. Bedding and items were mangled beyond recognition, and a lone fire extinguisher remained unused in a corner. Lockers had been flung open in a hurry, with a small mountain of shoes in front of it, and sadly, some of those shoes would never again find their owners. Blood covered the reception room's phone, paperwork
Hectic.
untouched as if nothing was wrong, and broken windows highlighted the sheer
a dead body?
desperation and people trying to escape.
Is that a dead body? Or is it a ghost? No, it's a dead body. Or
This
just a piece
really
of
was a
whatever.
lot to take in for investigators. Sadly, as the days passed, it was revealed that Sang-Jin had claimed the lives of 6 innocent people. 5 had died through fatal injuries by his knife, while 1 had fallen to her death. 7 more victims were seriously injured, with 3 in critical condition, and later on it was learned that 3 of his deceased victims were Chinese citizens.
Well, I don't get it. What does that mean? Did I miss something?
Amongst the victims
Why
were
is that
Seo
important?
Jin, who was 20 years old, Min Dae-ja was 60, Lee Wo-ja 50, Jo Young-ja 53, Kim Yang-seon 45, and Park Jong-suk 52. It was noted that Lee Wo-ja, who was a Korean-Chinese woman, had suffered burns all over her body after being stabbed 30 times with a knife. This included many stab wounds to her chest and her stomach. Everyone involved in this incident was absolutely traumatized, and one man who managed to survive the attack described his encounter with Sang-Jin as the following. A black object suddenly appeared out of the thick black smoke and began to attack other people in the Gosiwon. Out of fear, I couldn't move my feet. I locked my door and even thought of breaking the window, jumping down if I saw any sign of the door opening. I opened the door and tried to pick up a fire extinguisher, but when I turned my head, I saw a man dressed in all black amongst the smoke. It was almost like a movie, an illusion. It felt like a professional terrorist was put
This
in the
is
Gosiwon.
hectic,
It
eh?
was as if a character out of an ambush or a war movie had suddenly appeared. Unfortunately, this incident reignited awful memories of previous massacres, as sadly, Korea had experienced 1 or 2 in recent years. In 2003, a 56-year-old man ignited a subway train in the southern city city of Daegu with a canister full of gasoline. The blaze engulfed
Jeez,
the
like
entire train, leaving 198 people dead and 147 injured.
Whoa.
Their neighboring country, Japan,
198
had also
people
been struck by a
killed.
series of stabbings and massacres too. As some of you will remember in my case covering Tomohiro Kato, 7 people were killed in Akihabara when a man slammed a truck into a crowd of shoppers before taking
Oh
a knife
my
to
hat.
anyone standing by. Moving into the legal proceedings
What
of
the
this
fuck is wrong
case,
with people?
Sang-Jin claimed that he no longer had any desire to live anymore, as now everyone would look down upon him. I mean, I have no idea what this guy was expecting, because yeah, he's kind of stating the bloody obvious here. Disturbingly, over the weeks it also became clear that Sang-Jin held no remorse or guilt for his actions. He always seemed to focus on himself, and instead, during his interrogation, he claimed that he'd been persecuted since his childhood. He would also tell officers that, since trying to take his own life, he often suffered from severe headaches and could never find
Whoa, let's pause. I just realized now. Never seen this fucking cat here before. Oh shit, you can see. Let me move this. Hello? Cat? What the fuck are you doing there? Who's that? What cat is that? Is it real? Don't think so. Looks fake. Okay, putting it up yet. Hubba.
reason why. Investigators initially claimed that Sang-Jin had no debilitating disease or mental illness, highlighting that the most apparent health issue was a mild case of varicose veins. Now, I'm not entirely sure what you would say about this, but I wouldn't
What's
say
that?
varicose veins are well known for their massacre-inducing side effects. However, initial psychologists did admit that he could have had surgery to help alleviate the infrequent severe headaches. But unfortunately, he did not have access to 3 million won required for this surgery, the equivalent of $2,400 or £2,000. Prosecutors claimed that he was motivated by a combination of psychological distress, financial troubles, and influence from the
Baby, I'm
movie A
coming now.
Bittersweet Life. Sang-Jin was
My
ordered
daughter just
to
woke
undergo
up.
a thorough mental evaluation for 1 month before his trial, but this would
me,
not yield any
me
sort of
2
medical
seconds.
response or excuse that he was hoping for. Psychologists concluded that he knew the content and characteristics of the crime, and committed it with intent and had planned it for a very
No shit, Sherlock. I'm pretty sure but any stabbing is done with your brain. There's no flipping, oh, I didn't mean to do it. Do you know what it takes to flip and stab someone? Holy shit.
long period of time. However, they further concluded
Guy's a
that
fucking
emotional
idiot.
and mental health issues were present during his childhood. This
Okay,
included
well,
borderline
that's
personality
obvious.
disorder, known as BPD, and dysthymia. Borderline personality disorder is a condition that affects how you think, feel, and interact with other people.
Let me guess,
Symptoms
this
of
got him
BPD include being
less of a
emotionally
sentence.
unstable, having upsetting or intrusive thoughts, and acting without thinking. Dysthymia is a long-lasting form of depression which lasts for at least 2 years. Common symptoms include poor appetite, insomnia, low energy, low self-esteem, and hopelessness. Now, both of these conditions perfectly described Sang-Jin. He claimed to have had a neglectful childhood, was emotionally unstable, had low self-esteem, and experienced relentless hopelessness. Feelings of alienation and inferiority, resentment towards his parents, and multiple attempts to take his own life due to social dissatisfaction all played into these conditions. However, schizophrenia and psychotic depression were considered not to be present. They further
That's
concluded
hectic, eh?
that, although he
Holy
did suffer
shit.
from chronic depression, he was fully aware of his actions.
No
It
shit,
was
of
also
course he was.
revealed that he had tried to take his own life 5 times throughout the years, including poisoning himself in the first year of middle school and overdosing on sleeping pills
Middle
after
school,
military
you wanna
service in
kill
March
yourself, eh?
2003.
Yes.
But investigations concluded that, based on a psychological evaluation, he fully understood his actions and was therefore responsible for his crimes. His trial began in April 2009, and mental health notes aside, nothing surprising came out of the court. Sang-Jin eventually showed remorse for his actions, which he often repeated the same statement over and over again. "I was wrong. I'm reflecting on my actions, and I regret them a lot." On May the 12th, 2009, Jeong Sang-Jin was found guilty for 6 counts of
Of
premeditated
course
murder.
you
Due to his
regret it.
coherence, he was found to be fully accountable for his actions. And with South Korea still imposing the death sentence, that is exactly what he received. However, despite South Korea retaining the death penalty, it is classified as an abolitionist in practice country, meaning the death penalty has not actually been executed since 1997. This
Oh
means that,
wow.
to this day, Sang-Jin still remains alive behind bars. Though, to be honest, that is probably a much harder sentence for him, given his ongoing expression of
I was
wanting
about
to
to
die
say
just
that's
after his
definitely the
crimes took
best
place.
punishment for this guy.
Following his sentence, the family and
Idiot.
friends of his 6 victims were very
So
pleased with the
glad he didn't get to
result,
take his
and
life.
thankfully it seemed to spark a change in Goswon regulations too. The Korea Goswon Association estimates there's around 4,000 active Goswon in Seoul and another 2,000 nationally. Now of course, they can be a very good thing, because according to government data, the number of homeless people in Seoul has dropped to below 3,000. Compare that to 10 million residents, and that is an absolutely staggering achievement, if you think about it, and has likely helped many vulnerable people off the streets. However,
Nice.
that is not to say that Goswon don't come without their fair share of caveats and problems. The National Emergency Management Agency estimates there's currently around 110,000 residents in Goswon across Seoul, with a nationwide estimate of around 200,000.
He gets very involved
But
in
unless these
stats and
buildings are
stuff,
held
eh?
to satisfactory safety standards, all of these people are at risk. In the year 2002, which was still 6 years before Sang-Jin's violent actions, discussions around the Goswon Safety Management Standards Act were held at a governmental level. However, sadly, no changes in regulations were made. The Ministry of Health and Welfare took another look into Goswon standards in 2007, but again, this was eventually scrapped due to government resources. It was only on November 30th, 2008, which just so happened to be 6 weeks after Sang-Jin's crime, that the National Emergency Management Agency announced it would make revisions to the Special Act of Safety Management of Multi-Used Establishments. In these revisions, it was announced that the width of all corridors in
Listen, this is
Goswon
a
must be extended from
lot
90
of
centimeters
extra,
to
eh? But always at
120.
the end here,
These
he
changes
goes off
had to
on a
be
bit
made
of a
within a year,
tangent.
and any Goswon establishment unable to
But
meet
this
these
is,
demands
yeah,
must be
I
closed
don't know, eh?
immediately. The NEM agency also
What do
enforced
you guys
regulations
think? Do you think this guy is just psycho? Um, yeah, I don't know, eh? So weird. Like, why is it that these guys, and they always seem like always the weak ones, they always get away with these murders and stuff. Is it really that difficult to stop someone with a knife? Maybe we need to watch those um self defense classes, where you can like, "Phew," and then the guy like shakes and falls over like 15 meters away from you. That would have helped.
to make sprinkler systems compulsory, and all exit signs must be illuminated.
Sorry. It's so late there, and I'm struggling to come up with content here in my head. Oh my gosh.
And although these
Tired.
regulations steer South Korea's safety standards in the right direction,
What video is this? This video 5?
it is all too late for the victims of
Let me
this
know.
tragedy. It is a real shame to say this, but unfortunately there isn't much known about them or the lives they had either. Apparently, Seo-jin was the sister to a semi-famous football player, and Lee Walja was a mother who had migrated to South Korea to bring money back home to her son in China. Regrettably, it is a real shame I can't bring more information in their remembrance. 15 years have passed since Gangnam's Gosiwon massacre. 15 years since these victims left behind 6 families and hundreds of friends collectively. And I do hope that throughout all these years, they've collectively found peace. And that
Me
comes
too.
to the very end of our case today, folks, which means I'm wrapping this one up here. Again, I'm very sorry I couldn't bring any more to the victims of this story.
No, I don't think it was that bad a story. I mean, yeah, okay, what happened is obviously terrible, and this guy's flippin' psycho, and I'm glad he's stuck in jail, but eh,
So, what do you think about this story?
I enjoy him more like when he does like not celebrities, but like these one of his previous videos that he did a like a TikTok model person. Was it TikTok OnlyFans? I don't know, something like that. Things like that is cool because then there's a lot of footage of like things that's going down. I like that.
It touches quite a few interesting topics like wealth and the wealth divide, but also some psychological problems when Sang-Jin was a child. I'd love to know more of what you think below. As you can likely see, I'm diving back into international cases, so tell me what you think about that below.
Should things like that be a thing? Like when I say be a thing, I mean like, do you think that him growing up like that led him to do what he did? Or is it more of a he's a psycho and yes, he had bad bringing up, if you know what I mean? Like, anyways, let me know down below what you think. Let's just hear the outro quick.
And if you have any suggestions, please let me know too. As always, folks, if you found this case interesting, then remember to like the video and subscribe if you
Go
haven't yet. It
subscribe.
really does help the
Coffeehouse
channel
Crime.
out. Until we
Love
see
this
each
guy.
other again, which I promise won't be that long, remember to look after yourself, look after each other, and of course, stay safe.
Stay safe.
Thank you, and goodbye.
Cheers, bud. Here we go. In memory of the victims of the Gangnam Gosiwon massacre. Love it. He always does like this remembrance stuff. I love it. Yeah. Shout out.
Ooh. You haven't said
Oh,
hi to the camera for a while.
I think the cat was
Let's say hi
real.
to it. What's up here? Look up here. There are hundreds of thousands of people who know you, and you have no idea. That head is pretty empty, isn't it? Yeah. Empty but happy. That's the way I want to live.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. Yeah, again, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Um, and what type of videos you enjoy watching reactions to. Um, I've got a video here called Operator Fails to Understand Sneaky 911 Call. Two real disturbing 911 calls. I love watching that. This guy goes like gets all these 911 calls and like he started adding videos though, so it makes it a bit more intense. Like the previous one shows how this guy just went on a rampage and eventually ended up like shooting a cop, and it's on the video, was on the video, and you know all those things. What's another video? Yeah, I just want to see. 3 months ago. That's old. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So definitely got a lot more to react to. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what else you want me to see. I would like to start doing like more like horror related things. And when I say horror, like ghost stuff, um, that just seems to be a lot happening. So it's easier to react to. Where this was like, it's very long. Not sure if you guys are going to like it, anyways. Just showing you everything that I enjoy watching. Yeah, you guys must keep safe and yeah, look after each other. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, man. Bye.